Man, did Matt Kaulig and Chris Rice have a day. They pretty much reconfigured their entire team in one press conference with the announcement that AJ Allmendinger will be promoted into the number 16 Cup car for 2023, and replacing him in the 16 Xfinity car will be current contender for Toyota in the Truck Series, Chandler Smith. And before I get into it, please like and subscribe to the video. It means a lot to me. And if you guys like daily NASCAR content, please follow me on Twitter and TikTok. I post every day. But as far as the Kaulig Racing announcement goes, my thoughts on this are pretty simple. This was an incredible move for Kaulig Racing on all fronts. AJ Allmendinger is hands down the best driver they have in that entire company, and a guy that fans are desperate to see one last full-time season in Cup out of him. Who knows if this will be 1 season, 2 seasons, what it'll be, but I definitely don't think this is going to be long term. And you know, I think that this is well deserved, and I think this is long overdue, because AJ is a guy that really never got a fair shake in the Cup Series. Pretty much being catapulted from champ cars straight into the top level of stock car racing, a racing discipline that he had zero experience with. Red Bull has got to be one of the most irresponsible handlers of talent in the racing world when you look at things like this and F1, and they are right in front of Toyota. AJ was kicked to the curb from Red Bull, of course after struggling to find his footing in a sport that was still foreign to him. AJ bounced around from Richard Petty Motorsports, JTG Daughtery Racing, and slowly got to where he was at least a consistent threat on road courses, but still had a lot of learning to do on every kind of oval. And then after the failed drug test while in his first season with Penske, which was supposed to be like his big break, it looked like AJ was going to be out of NASCAR for good. But Kaulig Racing scooped him up, and I think indirectly gave him all the development that he had lacked since being in the Cup Series. You know, running for Kaulig in Xfinity, I think that was the best thing that ever happened to AJ in his career, because it's hard enough coming to learn a new discipline of racing, but being forced into the top level of that discipline is madness, and expecting someone to learn while being forced to go up against the best in the world is a hard thing to do. You got to think about the mental toll that takes, the confidence lost, all those years of running in the back and trying to learn how to drive a stock car. I mean, he was essentially thrown into the deep end of a pool without even being taught how to swim yet. But Kaulig became his metaphorical floaties, and I think being able to compete full-time in Xfinity is the best career reset AJ could have hoped for, and I think it was needed to bring him full circle in his development. And now I think he's the most ready non-full-time Cup driver in NASCAR. He has now learned how to race on every type of track, on every type of oval, and be a winning threat on every oval. And when you look at his stats in Xfinity, it's really scary to see how much better he's been than his teammates this year. I think that AJ was content with staying in Xfinity the rest of his career, but man, is it going to be interesting to see what he does with another full-time season of Cup under his belt. The new AJ, and I'm going to be honest, I expect playoffs next year. I think it's obvious he will compete at every road course we go to and probably win at least one of those. But you look at what he's done part-time in Cup this season, and he's the total package with 2 top 10s at Gateway and Bristol. He's outperformed Noah Gragson and Daniel Hemrick in the same car, and even outperformed Justin Haley, who's competing full-time this year if you compare their stats. Justin Haley and Chandler Smith, they're the future for Kaulig, but putting AJ into the 16 next year gives them a good idea of what they are right now, presently. And I don't think AJ is going to be a realistic contender for the championship, but I think he's going to definitely make playoffs and show off the fact that he's belonged at the top level of stock car competition this whole time. He just needed someone to actually take the time to develop him. Kaulig Racing, it has such a cool family atmosphere that you can tell AJ embraces, and I'm sure that's why Chandler Smith decided to jump ship from Toyota over to there. Speaking of Chandler Smith, this is a guy that is one of the biggest young prospects on the come-up in this sport, and he chose to go to Kaulig. That's telling, considering how Kaulig has struggled this year in both Xfinity and in Cup outside of AJ Allmendinger's car. this was a massive win for both Smith and Kaulig, because I think Kaulig is going to end up being a top team in the sport within the next 6 years, and Smith has a wide open pipeline to jump right into that 16 car in a couple of years when AJ is ready to step down. Honestly, I think that this situation is perfect. They get to develop their next star with no rush, because AJ is more than capable of reaching that equipment's full potential. And I'm just really excited for the future of Kaulig. Everything, every little piece that they are putting in place, I think really spells a bright future for them. But what do you guys think? Do you think AJ is making playoffs next year, or do you think he's going to struggle more than I'm leading on? Tell me what you think in the comments, and I hope y'all have a great day.